Slide down here. Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
But it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Strictly up to you.
But it's Kennedy, Kennedy, Kennedy,
Bump something.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight?
A man whose record shows that he will fight for what is right.
A loyal man who brings the job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
Cause it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's promised in the Bill of Rights to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
And it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and the change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
I bumped something, didn't I? Oh my goodness. I did something. I don't know what to say. Welcome, welcome, welcome from my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States, North American continent, Western Hemisphere. I'm amusing myself of my own ridiculousness is basically what's happening. On this planet Earth, the only one we have, third rock from the sun, in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect, live with you for Sunday, February the 16th. It's right there in the quarter, Jeff. Look at the thing. The 16th, 2024. Let me turn the gain down here a little bit. I think I'm blasting everybody out. Welcome, 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 one and all. Hopefully. Oh boy. I don't feel well at all. Kristen and I have, she's been sick. And I think I'm either, as have I. I think we have very different things, but I don't think what's bothering me I can share to her. I think what's bothering her she has shared to me. And I think it's starting to settle in. And honestly, let's be honest, it's not like she did it on purpose, but it is a thing. It's here. It's bugging me. I don't think I can do that. If I can reach over here, I forgot to turn this one on. And so my plan is to be with you as long as I can tonight. I really don't feel well. We ordered in some dinner because we are painfully short of groceries. And we just thought it would be easier. We did nothing for Valentine's Day. Because we haven't felt well, and it's just it's a bad scene over here, gang. It's not good. But yeah, we it's not a good scene over here right now. So I don't know how long I'm going to be with you, because I really don't feel well. I was dumb enough to eat like I said, we ordered in, and I thought we'd be fine. And it's just not sitting right. It's just a bad scene. So hello to Jonquia. It was a very special hello. Jonquia has never told me, by the way, if I'm actually saying her name correctly. I could very well be butchering it. And I demand that she tell me straight away if I am, because it's certainly not my intention. Never, never, never. I think we can all be at least respectful enough to get people's names correct. And inside the Facebook chat, I have seen that the Lithuanian Americans for Allies and Democracy is watching. I really hope that's true. I really do. Gosh, I hope that's true. Because that would be really exciting to me. I would really enjoy that. That would be awesome. I hope that you are. I would be really, really excited by that. Tell us, drop some comments in the chat if you really are listening, if you're really there. I'd love to know what you're thinking about everything right now. Actually, the supposed Ukrainian peace talks, Russian war, Ukrainian peace talks are, I was going to actually talk about tonight. So if the Lithuanian Americans are actually there, please drop some comments in the chat. It would be really, really thrilling to hear from you and hear your opinions. Little update on the program. I really want to tell you all what's happening with me health-wise, because if I did, I think it would explain a lot of why I've been having such troubles the past months. It's just I'm just not sure yet. I think we'll have that sorted out by the end of the week, and if it is what I fear it is, it'll make a lot of sense to you. And then but I feel like if I tell you and it's not that, it's going to really look like the boy who cried wolf. But just suffices to say that pretty much everything I eat makes me sick. I can't do anything other than sleep. I am constantly out of breath. I have no energy. I have no strength. And like I said, we ate today. We ordered in to try to do something even semi/practical/romantic for dinner, and it backfired on both of us, because I don't think she's feeling well, and I sure as hell don't feel well either. If we make 3 hours, it'll be a bloody miracle. Let me be honest. Let me just be honest and say it will be an absolute miracle. But anyway, a quickie about the show. Now, if you were with us on Tuesday and Thursday... Oh, I thought I had a box of tissues up here. I think I might have used them all. I could really use tissues right now. I could have swore I had a box up here. I might have to walk away, which would be really bad. I hate dead air. But I really need tissues. Oh, crap. Well, I'm not happy about that. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess up here. Sorry, gang. I'm not feeling well. Really struggling. I'm so sorry. It's not pretty up here today. So what I would say is a little update about the program. If you were with us Tuesday, we were supposed to debut this new software that I'm actually using right now. And then we were able to do so on Thursday, but you all couldn't hear George. The caller couldn't hear George. You all couldn't hear the caller. So here's where I think we are. I think I fixed it. Wow. I think, literally think I fixed it. I actually think that we figured it out, which is pretty neat. I'm kind of shocked, if I'm being honest with you, because I'm not good at that stuff. But I think I figured it out. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm I'm trying to share the YouTube. Yeah, why don't you recognize me, you rotten thing? So there's that. So I think we shared it. I think I actually shared a YouTube post, which is a remarkably difficult thing to do, to be honest with you. But we I am fine so far, and all are welcome. It's going to be a struggle. But the really nice thing is that you finally had a chance to see George again, which is the way that we've always wanted to do the program. We've always wanted George to be here. I know that George doesn't talk much, and he's actually happy not to talk much. But he's been my partner in this, my partner in crime, so to speak, from there's no crime here. I'm just saying, I'm using a phrase, since day one. And he, it was nice to have him back on screen. It's always a better program when George is here. So I sent him, a note just a few minutes ago that we were going to be starting, and to join the Zoom. And he just said that he's having power problems. Well, what's happening here in Lehigh Valley recently, as I look out my window, as if you somehow understand what I'm doing, which is pretty frightening if you really think about it, is ever since the groundhog saw a shadow and said 6 more weeks of winter, it's been proper winter around here. Like, really properly. We've had some sort of winter weather every other day. Or I think it's pretty much every other day or every 2 days. Since February, rain through most of the day today. Oh, it's not good. It's really not good. Around 4:30, we had like a literal thunderstorm in the middle of February, when we had just had snow not 24 hours before. We had a thunderstorm, and then the sun kind of came out, and then it got gray again, and then there's a wind warning coming following on the heels of that, where the greater Lehigh Valley is expecting 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts for, oh gosh, let me see if I can find out for you. I think for most of the night, winds at 25 to 35, they could gust, they will occasionally gust over 40. Tomorrow is supposed to be windy as well, and then Tuesday it's only going to be 25 degrees. So the damn groundhog, which I'm really, really mad at the groundhog right now, if I'm just being honest with you, I'm really properly upset with the groundhog right now. So it's been a proper winter around here. I mean, for the last 2 weeks. And George is suffering from it. He's had power problems. He can't keep connected to the internet and so on. So it is my hope that he will be able to join us here at some point during the program. Well, George is not gone. He's not missing. Well, at least I don't think. We're having software problems. At least I don't think we are. You tell me if we are. I mean, if anybody's over at the YouTube checking it out, I don't think anybody is currently, but it just in case anybody is, and you can't hear anything or anything like that, just let us know. I'll do my best. But I think part of it, we think we got the software figured out. There's a lot more crap on my screen than was here on Thursday. So I think I've got it sorted. But you let us know. And this is all, of course, not what you tuned in for. I'm not sure why you tuned in. Oh gosh, I shouldn't say such things. It's my own show. I should be a little more optimistic, should I not? Anyway, I just thanks for being. I think that the overall message here is thanks for being patient, and I feel like crap. Yeah. So I will hang in here as long as I can. I'm literally trying not to. Like, it might be good radio or good TV for me to like physically get ill on the program, and then of course there's the the very obvious jokes that like his program's so bad it made him sick. Yeah, yeah, arguably. Anyway, let me say hello and a welcome to, at least from the Facebook side of things. I don't know if anybody's in on the YouTube at the moment, which is why I keep looking this way. I have another screen up so I can monitor it. Let me say hello and welcome to Janquia. I said hello to the Lithuanian Americans. I really wish you'd drop me a message to let me know if you're there and listening, or if you just stumbled on us by mistake. I think Janquia said hello to Patina, hello to Lewis, and to Linda. Bettina says same here in West Virginia. Rain this morning, then turned to snow. We actually went the opposite way. We were snow yesterday, which then turned into sleet, freezing rain, which then turned into rain. And I kid you not, we had a summer style thunderstorm about an hour and a half ago. It was really strange. And then as it was pouring rain, the sun came out. Look, we've talked about, the obviousness of climate change on this program before. Today is a glaring example of it. Lewis is in Pocono Summit. It's all ice and freezing over here tonight. Yes, it will be freezing here too, I believe. We're supposed to get into the 20s. Junquia is in Indiana. Did I know you were in Indiana? I'm not sure that I did, but nonetheless, she is in Indiana. Hopefully the weather's better where you are. It's going to be a bloody cold week around here, I can tell you. I'm supposed to work from home all week, which is going to kind of not necessarily make it better, but I guess I'll be a little more comfortable. I can wear my PJs instead of getting dressed up like an adult. But anyway, let's do a quick explanation. Enough about me and my life and so on. And the other thing is I have a proper migraine headache. I had to take my prescription to try to kill the migraine before I came up here. I got to about, oh boy, that's not good. Oh gosh. Wow, that's not good. I had to take my prescription before I came up here to try to kill this migraine. Literally, I really got to crunch time. I got to about quarter. I thought I had Tums in here too. I don't have tissues and I don't have Tums. I had all this stuff stashed up here. I must have used it all. I was really strongly thinking about canceling because I just don't feel right. But I already took a week off last week for the Super Bowl. Not sure if any of you watched the Super Bowl. It was a big deal around here in the Lehigh Valley. This Lehigh Valley is a suburb, perhaps arguably the most northern suburbs of New York. We do seem to be a mix of things here between New York and Philadelphia. But the Super Bowl was a big deal around here. Obviously, a lot of people thrilled that the Eagles won. A surprising lack of fireworks. The Lehigh Valley is a very interesting place. We can do full home, backyard, bought in fireworks stores, displays on a Tuesday night just because we can. And the last time the Eagles won a Super Bowl, it sounded like it just sounded like a war zone around here. And it wasn't this time, which I thought was interesting. It was pretty restrained. I was thrilled. And I felt good for the dog that she wasn't bothered by it, as we know how desperately dogs can be bothered by by fireworks, but she did well. I mean, she did real well. It just it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, which is lovely. I mean, it's nice. I'm glad. Really quite happy that it wasn't that bad. Anyway, let's get to a little bit of show business, if you will. And I don't mean show business, I mean the business of show, shall we say. You are watching and listening. Why you're doing it, I have no idea, but you are watching and listening to The Kennedy Effect for 16th of April 2025. We are live right now on the Facebook pages of Ghost Claw Productions, Hot101.net, Our Revolution Pennsylvania, and the TCP Media Group. We're also live on my own Facebook, Jeff Kennedy. You can barely sort of see my name there in the corner. I seem to have lost the ability to stretch it too, by the way. I really should stretch that picture out for you. You can go to we are live on our home group Facebook page for all things that surround the Kennedy Effect and where we'll be taking some of our topics from tonight. That other side of information. It's also the name of our YouTube channel. We are live there right now, and we are live on the YouTube channel of Ghost Claw Productions Radio, GCPR, our own Ghost Claw YouTube. We are live there right now as well. The audio of the program, and we've shared the program to, I will make an attempt to tell you how many places I've shared it to, for whatever it's worth. It's worth. It's good to know, I guess. 108 places. So if you're wherever you might be taking in the program, across the 108 places across Facebook that we have shared it, thank you very, very much. You can stay right there and watch and listen and enjoy. We hope you will enjoy. I will do my very best to keep up with your comments as well. I do not see them all. It depends on where you're commenting as to where I see them, but I will do my best to keep up with them. We've strongly invite and encourage your comments and questions, and yell at me, agree with me, disagree with me, tell me I'm old and ugly, tell me I'm sick, and what the hell are you doing on the radio, because I'm not sure. You can just be a part of the program. This is not a lecture. I'm really not here to lecture to you. I would love for you to be an interactive part of the program. So please do that. And to everywhere on Facebook that has allowed us to be part of your corner of the Facebook universe, thank you very, very much. We couldn't do it without you. So stay right there and watch, or come on over to Ghost Claw Productions Facebook page or our home group Facebook page for the program, that other side of information, and I will see your comments. The audio of the program, of course, blasts around the globe via two global internet radio stations. One of the very first, the other, one of the newest. The first, of course, is Hot101.net, one of the very, very first global internet radio stations, which will be launching an entirely second channel soon that is dedicated to Latin and Spanish-based music. I think you are going to want to check it out. I think it's going to be pretty damn exciting and pretty fun. So if you have an interest in any of that kind of music, you're going to want to check out the second channel, which is coming soon from Hot101.net, which is, of course, a Spanish-based, Latin-based, Caribbean-based, beats I certainly can't dance to, let's put it that way. Not this guy. I think you're going to want to check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Hot101.net, our name is our web address. You can listen to us at our main website, which is www.hot101.net, hot101.net, but you don't need the website to listen. You can use our apps, Apple App Store for Apple devices, Google Play Store for Android devices, and of course the TuneIn Radio app. I have frozen. I appear to be frozen. What happened? Oh. Was that why I froze? Did I freeze because you were joining? Did my broadcast freeze because you just joined me? Oh, maybe. That could have been. Well, that's all right. It happens. That said, hot101.net, if you can connect to the internet below, on, or above Earth, you can listen to us, and you can listen for free. The website is free. The apps are free. Apple App Store, Google Play for Android, and the TuneIn Radio app. And, of course, you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net. GCPR, Ghost Claw Productions Radio, GCPR.live is the website. Go to www.gcpr.live, and you can listen there for free. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. You can listen there for free. There's a play button right on the screen, a little green arrow. Oh, Lewis says we're still going. That's weird because I froze on this end, Lewis, for some unknown reason, and I thought we were off the air there for a second, so thank you for doing that. I appreciate you doing that for us and letting us know that we're still okay. Everything froze for a second, so I wasn't sure what was happening. GCPR.live, and we now have an Android app, a functioning, operating Android app for GCPR. Gilbert continues to work. He's like literally teaching himself how to code for iOS, and he's going to be writing an Apple app as well. I happen to think those are going to be proper game changers for our station. Whenever, if you have an Android device, I strongly encourage you, request you to go to the Google Play Store, look for Ghost Claw Productions Radio, GCPR.live, find our app, download it, and use it. You can listen for free. It's super simple, and it helps the station grow. So thanks for that. I will open up the phone line a little bit later in the program. We have a 3-hour-long broadcast time. I don't know that that's going to happen, folks. I am nauseous, properly nauseous, like could be running away from the camera kind of nauseous, even though I don't think that on the air would be terribly good radio, but maybe it would make a really interesting visual. Might go viral, who knows. But and when I say go viral, that almost sounds like a pun, because I just don't feel well. We're short of breath, got a runny nose, but other than that, we're going to take you as deep into our 3 hours as we can. We're really thrilled that you're here. Please like, share, subscribe. Follow is the other one I was trying to think of. Like, share, subscribe, and follow. Of course, our 2 stations and our program. Anywhere that you find us, please be a part of the program. So a hello to Lewis and a hello. I think I said hello to Lewis earlier. A hello to Randall and hello, sir. You appear to have power. Now here's a test for you at home, folks. George, we think we fixed this. Oh my goodness. That's not good. Down, boy. Down. You can play along with us at home and tell us if we fixed all this, but let's say hello to George. Hello, sir.
Hello.
I can certainly hear you, but then again, I could hear you Thursday. It was the people at home that couldn't hear you, and you appear to have power. What a bonus!
Yeah, we lost. Well, we've been having intermittent power outages when the wind gets very aggressive here. After a rainstorm or after a freezing rainstorm like we just had. Trees fall down, they fall onto power lines, and we appear to have a lot of trees in Pennsylvania.
Well, do you have a lot by you? I know that.
Oh yeah. We're. I always thought that Florida was the blackout capital of the world. We are.
Yeah, but because it's the 21st century, and all of our power lines are still above ground because. Yeah.
It's funny because I was talking to my wife Lynn about that. She said the people because we live on a dead end street, so we're the first house that goes down that road. The people who live down that road on the cul-de-sac, their power is underground. There are no are no power lines above the ground. Everything's under the ground. We're the only ones who have power lines. It's really weird. It's
I guess
thing.
maybe they paid to bury theirs.
Maybe.
I know George has visited my home, of course. He's probably not a memory that he's fond of, but he has visited our home before. And our power lines here in our complex are all buried. There's no power lines. But the main line in is still above ground, so we're still subject to that on occasion. And that, by the way, we might not have to wait for me to puke live on the air. We might just lose power, and that'll be the end of the program, so who knows. But we are expecting some really, really dangerous winds here in the valley over the next 24, 36 hours. It would seem like. So thank you that you're here, but no one has commented yet. Bettina says she can hear and see you. Okay. Wow, so we can hear you. Isn't that fantastic? Lewis mentions that he is surrounded by pine trees caked with ice. That's actually pretty cool. That's a pretty cool, like when, I know that gets dangerous for the trees and the power lines, but when they have that shiny layer of ice on them, it's really actually quite cool. But it's probably not good for Lewis as he's waiting for his power lines to collapse or a tree to collapse or something like that. A special hello to PDX Progressive Talk Radio, the internet progressive radio icon from the Pacific Northwest. You've heard me talk to you before that we have an interesting demographic of listenership. We have this pocket. I guess pocket's the right word for it. We have a strong listenership base in the Pacific Northwest, and I never quite understood it. We never look a gift horse, but it I always thought it was a bit strange, but here we are. And PDX is an internet radio station based in the Pacific Northwest that you should check out. You will notice that I tag them on pretty much every live broadcast. If you're wondering why I'm bending in half, I'm trying to pull my socks up because I'm freezing. And I took my slippers off because my feet are actually soaked wet with sweat, but yet my feet are cold. So I think I'm just probably dying all the way around, which is fine because I'm tired. But everything's just going pear-shaped. What a night. What a weird night. The Sunday show, I'll tell you what, taking really weird directions. But anyway, PDX is actually a radio station that I fully expect, hope, continue to work with to try to partner more and more between our program and them and they and us. And we continue to grow the base of support that we have here for the program. Lewis mentions that his batteries are charged, probably a good thing. Excellent, brilliant. So PDX mentions that they're mostly on terrestrial. We can do terrestrial, trust me. I know how not to swear. I know how to read commercials. This program was supposed to start on terrestrial radio, by the way. There was a single proprietorship radio station here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. There are very few of them left, and they were going to take the program, and then that was actually where the program was going to debut, and they choked, I think is probably the best way to put it. They got cold feet and thought that we were a little too much controversy around the program, and people get mad and angry about politics. Well, no shit. That's what I thought you wanted people to listen. And we now have more people listening to us than they do their station. So, and we certainly reach probably 3 times more people, if not more than that, and we have more than that listening. But no fear, PDX. I grew up in terrestrial radio. I grew up in vacuum tubes. Believe it or not, the station that I worked at as a high school student was founded in Easton, Pennsylvania, not shortly after the beginning of the founding of radio stations, and still had vacuum tubes and transistors for the most part running the station. And I worked there, and I worked with tape and cut tape and pots, and the pot, to pot different mics were the big dials. If you had a slide pot, that was like super technology. That was a big deal. We had the big dial pots.
Do you remember? Do you remember?
Trust us, PDX. We can do terrestrial radio, and I want to. So you're not getting rid of me that much. I can't. You're not going to scare me with terrestrial radio. We've done it before. In fact, I miss terrestrial radio. We try to run this show, I think, very much like a terrestrial radio show. I think George would probably agree with that. I never put words in his mouth, but I think he'd agree with that. Generally speaking, we try to run the program like a terrestrial radio program. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you remember two guys?
The department store?
Yeah, department store.
Hell yeah, I do.
Guys, they used to have a tester, you used to have like a testing, machine for vacuum tubes, and you used to take your vacuum tubes over to two guys and plug them into this machine and press the button to check the test, to check. But I mean, it was like for everything. It was like for I think it was like for different resistors, for different bulbs. Like you could take the bulb out of your blinker of your car, bring it into two guys, put it into the machine, plug it in, and test it. But I distinctly remember vacuum tubes. It was a vacuum tube tester, and it was funny because the machine itself had vacuum tubes in it, so you could test vacuum tubes. Yeah. It was the funniest thing.
That's fun. See, I don't remember that from two guys. I do remember, though. I think one of the big things that made Radio Shack such a huge thing.
Yeah.
When they were just the technology and electronics, like there was no Best Buy, there was none of that.
Yeah.
There were no Apple stores, there was no Samsung stores, there was none of that. I mean, when you're talking Radio Shack at its height, Samsung was a company strictly in South Korea that I think largely processed human hair into wigs. That's what Samsung was.
Oh, okay.
And but everybody, if you needed quote unquote technology, you went to Radio Shack. They sold phones.
I used to work there. Yeah,
radio. They sold literal transistor radios, and then I remember the neat thing about going to them is that Radio Shack kind of hit. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but because I was young, and I may be remembering this incorrectly, but Radio Shack kind of became a big thing when we were transitioning from vacuum tubes to transistors. And that you could get this radio that could either fit on your desk or that you could take to the beach with you, and if you just threw enough D batteries in them, because they were the only ones that had enough energy, and then they were all like 5 pounds a piece, and like these lead D batteries. Put 6 or 8 of them in the back of something.
The dry cell.
But you could get AM, FM, shortwave,
right,
and like the emergency weather, all on one radio that you could carry with the big freaking antenna on it. And but the thing is that you could carry it. You could take it with you.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't vacuum tubes where you needed, a wheelbarrow to pull it behind you, or to that kind of thing. And a lot of folks forget, because they're younger, and that's fine, obviously, that it was really cars that really grew radio. Not everybody had radios in their homes. They were big pieces of furniture in the 40s, right? They were big consoles. They were as large as
TVs.
Right, like old TV consoles. They were as
but
large
you
as
couldn't go into somebody's house
Right.
and steal their TV.
No, you couldn't steal their
because
radio.
It
either.
was so big. Yeah.
It was a piece of furniture. It was a
Yeah.
proper piece of furniture, and many of them had exquisite wood details on them, and the shape of the cutouts through the wood for the speaker and the dials and the whole, like, it was cars. But these were expensive pieces of furniture, is what I'm trying to get at. And it was cars. It was people's mobility. It was the beginning of the middle class built by the New Deal. As a result of Roosevelt and the cures against the Republican Great Depression, that really grew radio. It was the car radio. Is that when you could get in your car and listen to the radio wherever you were, and you could take it with you. You didn't have to leave Edward R. Murrow in the middle of the newscast in the house. You could go out into the car and tune it back on again and listen to it on your way to work, on your way on holiday, whatever it might be. I would say going out to dinner. People didn't go out to dinner like they do now back then, but still that was an occasion. But if you were taking the family trip over the river and through the woods, so to speak, to grandmother's house, you could listen to the radio the entire way, and it was cars and automobiles and mobility that really grew the middle class. It led to urban sprawl, led to the beginnings of the first suburbs, led to the first vacation communities, which of course eventually became part of the suburbs themselves. I mean, I remember living in the Lincoln Park, New Jersey area. George will know where I'm talking about, which used to be a recreational along the Passaic River, which was like a mountain retreat for people from the city for the longest time, for ages and ages. But which of course is now really nothing more than a New York suburb, or I shouldn't say nothing more, that sounds bad, but I mean it's a New York suburb for all intent and purpose. But it used to be the woods. It was the wilderness for the longest time, and you got in your car and you went to the wilderness, and that kind of thing. But anyway, PDX, take that as I stick my tongue out at you on the radio. Don't think this guy can do. Trust me, this guy can do terrestrial radio. Terrestrial radio taught me why it's easier to do live reads, because I was really never good at cutting tape. When I went to broadcasting school, I used to get my classmates to do the editing homework assignments for me, because I was an on-air I went to school to be an on-air talent. I had been on the air before I ever went to broadcasting school, and I got in one of those really strange cycles when radio jobs would open up. I would just make a cassette tape at home. I would read into a cassette recorder, and that would be my audition tape. And normally the radio stations would tell me, well, you don't have a degree. So eventually I went to broadcasting school and got a degree, but I went overwhelmingly to be on-air talent, not producing. So when I got a really tough assignment to cut tape, I'd ask one of my classmates, and normally they would either do it for me or they would at least walk me through it and help me so that I didn't screw it up. And then the irony then, of course, was once I got out of broadcasting school and then I began to apply for jobs again, I would then get told, well, you haven't been on the air for a decade. So how do you get the job without the experience? How do you get the experience without the job? How do you?
Right.
And I got in that cycle of radio, and that's why this has been such a godsend. We live in a really remarkable age where anyone can get on the radio. We just can. Anybody can. And it works both ways, because you discover a lot of talent. You discover people who are really, really good at this. You discover a lot of people who are popular and think they are really, really good at this. And you discover a lot of shit. God, it's awful.
Case in point,
Sorry.
me.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful. I mean, I think the last time... When was the last time you searched this for me? How many active podcasts there are in the world? I thought it was like double-digit millions, if I'm not mistaken. And I got it. Probably 98% of them are crap.
Well,
And maybe, and to be fair, the people hosting them probably think I'm crap. And yeah, probably, maybe. I mean, I'm certainly allowed to think that. I can't tell you what to think. But yeah, it's an amazing era that we're in. Anybody can get on the radio, and radio is accessible to anyone. And I think that's a great thing. And I love radio. I know that we have a visual component of this program, and that we hype, promote, push the video portions of this program on top of the radio. I know that the social media video simulcast of this program helps fuel the popularity of the program, such as it is, in whatever measure you want to take that. But I do love radio, and I think radio still connects with people in a way that visual doesn't, or the visual sometimes even can't. There's a personality to radio. There's a familiarity. There's a casualness, I guess. Because even though we try to bring you the most professional sounding, I guess you'd even say formal broadcast that we can possibly share with you, we try to be casual here as well. We try to have a laugh. We try to laugh at ourselves, which is easy because there's a lot to laugh at. But it's personal. Radio's personal, I think, in a way that television isn't and can't be. But I was not planning on spending the first hour of the program on radio, but just, hey, it's, you know what, it's nice sometimes to talk about a little something different. Lewis mentions in the... so using the Streamlabs web-based version, I was able to put your comments on the screen. I don't know how to do that anymore. Can I just say? I don't know how to do that anymore. So that's why I'm reading them all, because I literally don't know how to do that anymore.
I'm gonna interject something here. Restream.
Well, something.
You know, kind of like Rosebud.
It's you know what? When you say that, I'm reminded of the cutaway from Family Guy. When he records back when there were still Blockbuster videos, and at the over the end of the no, that happens at the beginning of the movie. And he drops the snow globe and says Rosebud, and then Peter comes up on the screen and goes, "It's his wagon. It's his wagon. I just saved you 3 boobless hours." But anyway, that's all I can think of when I hear that. Let me see. Lewis is familiar with something that I'm not. I'm quite familiar with radio KB3PDI. I don't even know what that is. KB3PDI sounds very formal. I'm not even sure. Is that shortwave? That might be shortwave that he's referring to. I'm not sure. PDX, I think it's Sherry at PDX, mentions, "I was very mad about the ability of everyone to get on radio when I worked so hard to ensure that I got certified." Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. I'm with you. Supposed to be licensed
yeah.
by the FCC, right? And then you work so hard to get licensed, and then you realize that somebody can download, a couple of goobers like George and I can download the software, push the button, and boom, here we are. We're not certified by the FCC either, but I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. You go to school, life in radio is not glamorous, generally. You've got to really, really hit it for there to be any kind of glamour or fame or fortune to it. And even some of the most famous radio personalities, you could walk right down the street past them and never know them because they're radio, right? You don't see them. But yeah, but normally, you go to school for it. You learn how to eliminate your accent, how to lower your voice and your perfect your pronunciations and your diction. And when you're reading ads, you know, to read a car commercial with super high energy, and then sometimes read another type of commercial, maybe for like a local funeral home or something, and you would read it like, you know, learn how to be more serious with it. And we take care of everything for you here at, you know, Golden Gardens Funeral Home, and that kind of, and you learn all these different things, and you learn how to cut tape and make ads, and how to play commercials from carts.
Unless you pawn
commercials from carts.
It off on your friends. Like unless you
pawn it off on your classmates. And how you play your carts. Sherry will remember what I mean by carts. These things that looked like kind of looked like 8-track tapes, but they weren't quite as big, and you had a stack of them. It could be your music, and it could also be your commercials, and you had a sheet, and you had to play what was on the sheet, and you loaded your carts, and you had to remember to rewind them so that the next time you had to play them, you weren't screwed sticking cart in at the bottom. But right, and Sherry mentions queuing up your carts. Yeah, you're not kissing the red. Sherry won't remember kissing the red. I was playing with the equalizer actually while we've been on the air. You don't blow it into the red, you kiss the red. It's the biggest thing I remember from broadcasting school, kiss the red. So you did all these things, and I went to be on-air talent. I went to get a degree. I already knew I was on-air talent. The people that ran the broadcasting school said, you should be on the air already. Why are you here? And it's like, well, nobody will hire me without a degree. So they gave me a degree. I paid for it, but I mean, no, they gave me a degree. But I went to hone and learn a bit more about my on-air skills. And like I said, I got through the other stuff, but it was cutting tape that taught me the joy and the beauty of the live read, because then I didn't have to cut tape. I could just take a script and read it, and it would be it could be a little different every time. It could be funny here and there. It was just, it was a good thing. It was a really good thing. Yeah, that taught me the power of the live read. And I think live reads, by the way, are more personable. I think they're more memorable, because you could read it and you could just absolutely frack the entire thing, and it's funny, and people remember it. But it was also, I think, a little more personable, a little more, you connected a little more with the ad when somebody was telling you about, you know, what did I just say? It was Golden Springs Funeral Home or whatever. Like, there was a little more personality to it.
I remember many, many years ago, I used to watch horror movies on WPAX, which was Channel 11, on the East Coast. And the announcer, the girl, I guess, she was doing the night shift and she was kind of tired. And there was this movie called The Thing with Two Heads. It was Rosie Greer and Ray Milland and whatever.
Yeah.
But she didn't say the thing with two heads. She said the head with two things. And she said the head with two things, and all of a sudden she caught herself, and then she kind of snickered, and then she said the thing with two heads. And I was like, that was a lot, that was like a live read. And she screwed it up.
Isn't that voted?
Because it was midnight, nobody was really going to hear it, but I heard it. It was hilarious.
Wasn't that voted one of the single worst films of all time?
Yes.
Or it's like in the top 5 or something like that. The Man with Two Heads, and like Ishtar, and like some of these like older horror movies. They're the single worst movies of all time, which is a whole different topic because somebody had a green light. Somebody had to green light that project, and somebody had to pay for it, and like somebody had to convince.
There was a production meeting with that, and they said, "Hey, how about this?"
And a table read, a live table read, right?
Yeah.
And somebody somebody had to pay and convince Ray Milland, who was a classic actor from, gosh, I think he might have even gone back into the 1930s and 40s. Ray Milland, he was an old man for that movie. That this was a good idea. Starring next to an ex-football player who had never acted. I think that might have been Rosie Greer's first acting. Just somebody had to convince him of that. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, that's funny. Gosh, yeah, the Man with Two Heads, that's funny. I want to say hi to Trans Gretchen in the chat of the YouTube. Holy crap, somebody's in the chat of the YouTube. Remember, we are live right now on the YouTube channel of Ghost Claw Productions Radio. You can find us live there right now. And I think, I'm sorry I keep sniffling. I'm really filled up. Whatever kind of cold or whatever Kristen has, I think I finally got it now. We should be, I believe I successfully shared the YouTube live video from Ghost Claw to our YouTube channel, which is called That Other Side of Information. You can watch us live on both. Really happy that Gretchen is there. Gretchen is welcome to join the program as well if you're bored, although Gretchen's got 2 more hours of radio to do after us later on tonight. And perhaps that's a good time for me to get to a little bit of a reset of the program. It is just moments before 7 p.m. here in the Lehigh Valley. Oh, we just turned 7. Oh, well, see, now here's where to Sherry at PDX, here's where the all the way, by the way, I do this bit entirely off the top of my head, that's why I screw it up all the time, but also here's where my old traditional FCC regulated terrestrial radio habits come back in. 7 p.m. Eastern Time here in the Lehigh Valley. You are watching and listening to The Kennedy Effect live with you for the 16th of February 2025. We are live right now on the Facebook pages of Hot101.net, Ghost Claw Productions, the TCP Media Group, Our Revolution Pennsylvania, and of course my home group Facebook page for everything that surrounds our program, That Other Side of Information. We invite all of you, if you are not already, we invite all of you to become a member of our Facebook group. I realize that some of you are not terrible fans of Facebook, but if you are still on it, we invite you to become members of our Facebook group. The stories that we talk about here on the air, the stories that are important on the in-between times when we are not on the air, are there for you on our Facebook group, That Other Side of Information. And it's not all politics. We also post stories about the environment, the occasional entertainment articles about space and astronomy, as well as animal advocacy, finding homes for the beautiful, beautiful souls who are certainly better people than we are most of the time, can all be found at our home group Facebook page for all things that surrounds the Kennedy Effect and TKE Tonight, That Other Side of Information. We are live on YouTube right now. Our YouTube channel is also called That Other Side of Information, and we are live on the YouTube channel of Ghost Claw Productions Radio. The audio of the program blasts around the globe via 2 global internet radio stations. One of the very first, the other, one of the very newest. Hot101.net. Our name is our web address, www.hot101.net. Our name is our web address. You can call up that web address, load the page, and you are listening. You do not need a credit card imprint, blood sample, don't have to sell your firstborn or remortgage the house. You can listen to us perfectly free at our website, but you don't need the website to listen. You can download our Apple app for Apple devices at the App Store, at the Apple App Store. You can download go to the Google Play Store and download the app for Android devices if you have an Android device, and if you should have any other type of device that may not support those 2 apps, you can go to the TuneIn radio app, go up to the search bar, type in hot101.net, and you are listening free of charge. Very, very simple. You can find us everywhere. And of course, you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net. GCPR.live, GhostClawProductions.live, GhostClawProductionsRadio.live, GCPR.live. You can go to our website. I have put the link in the chat. Just scroll back. You'll find it, www.gcpr.live. Go to the website, push play, and you are listening completely for free. We have an Android app, which is up and running. Gilbert continues to work on the Apple app. Hard to believe that writing and constructing an entire app would be so difficult. Gosh, Gilbert, geez, you couldn't do that in 5 minutes? I'm kidding completely, because I don't have even the most basic understanding of how he did either of this. So I'm picking on him because it's funny, or at least I think it's funny. He might not think it's funny, but I do. Our app for Android devices is up and running. Go to the Google Play Store, search GCPR, Ghost Claw Productions Radio, and you will find it. Download it, open it, and you're listening. You can also find our broadcast schedule, as well as explanations, synopses, the stories of our other shows throughout the station. Programming note following us whenever it is that we sign off, which could be in 5 minutes or could be in the next 2 hours, I don't know. The music resumes on hot101.net, coming up on GCPR. The Villain's View from 9 p.m. Conversations with T. Nathan from 11. Thomas starts off your work week broadcasting schedule from 8 a.m. tomorrow with the sound of coffee. We here at TKE Tonight, The Kennedy Effect, return to you Tuesday evening, Tuesday the 18th, from 8 p.m. We should probably get to the heart of the program and what we wanted to talk about. This is supposed to be a political talk program. We should probably get to the politics at some point. Although it's nice to kind of take a meandering wander through history and memories and have a giggle here and there, but we should probably get to the program. The header of the program, pretty much I think wherever it's been posted, there's kind of a header to the post of what we were planning to discuss tonight, is really very simple. And it is kind of our main theme tonight, and then we'll find a few stories to kind of illustrate the theme. And that would be, how are you enjoying Project 2025 so far? You liking it? You loving it? Is it everything you thought it would be? Or is it more? How are we digging Project 2025 so far? Speaking of some old-time DJ language, how you digging that so far? Well, I posted a story on our Facebook page last night that kind of, in my humble opinion, shows you that Project 2025 is now currently, has been, and will continue to be nothing about policy or governing, or, well, they'll make history, but certainly not what they're looking for. That it's always been about money, about justifying and at least giving the appearance of somehow trying to pay for massive tax cuts for the top 1% and the largest corporations, about destroying unions, driving down labor costs, shrinking the size of government, eliminating government's ability to protect through regulation. Because let's remember, regulations are nothing other than protections. Protections from the rich and the powerful for you. Protections for you from them. Project 2025 also, I think, and I think the number of people who happen to believe this as well, is growing. That this is not a right versus left argument, if you will, anymore. It's an us versus them. It's the top versus the bottom. It's the 1% v the 99. And I think Project 2025 is an encapsulation of that. Project 2025 is nothing more. Now, this is a big... You got to follow me here, because my grammar is going to sound a little confusing. Hopefully it's convincing as well, but it's going to sound a little confusing. Project 2025 is nothing other than the complete deconstruction of democracy and the federal government and the firm and permanent institution of fascism and feudalism in this country. It's not about you. It's not about growing the economy. It's not about defending freedom. It's about the complete deconstruction of the federal government and its ability to protect you from any mega monster wealthy program, or person, really I should say person, not program, person or corporation that would have its way with you. And we already know that this is true. You see meat packing companies who will be fined millions of dollars for E. coli breakouts in their plants, but rather than solve the problem so that the meat's no longer spoiled, it's just cheaper to pay off the people who died from it. We told you a few weeks ago, well, probably a month or more ago now, about the meatpacking plant in Iowa that was caught twice within 6 months of having teenagers illegally working in its plant because they were paying them less than half the minimum wage. These kids were working, cleaning a meatpacking plant, what was tantamount to third shift, and then somehow trying to go to school the next day. And the company was caught twice within 6 months, paid the fine, and walked away. Nobody got arrested, nobody went to jail, because it was easier to pay the fine and cheaper than to take the revenue hit from actually employing the kids. Arkansas, of course, has made it legal to employ children again. How they did that through the supremacy clause of the Constitution, I'll never know. But then again, we know that the right wing only seems to use the Constitution when they need PR. They don't believe in it, they don't follow it, they don't protect it. But I guess my overall point is, especially to anybody who might be joining us tonight who's not a regular. You know, Randall says, obviously, I hate Project 25. Well, no kidding. I know that. I know where you stand on this. It's the rest of America. It's the 30% of the population that voted this into office. And they did, legally and fairly. They won. But the 30% of the population, we know that it was just a tick under 50% of the voting public. But as a percentage of the entire population, it's only about 30%. The 30% of the population that put this into office and started this process, what are they thinking right now? What are you thinking if you happen to be one of them right now? And if you're part of the 70%, like the rest of us, the 30% that voted Democratic, or sadly, the 40% that stayed home because you didn't think that he could really win again. What are you thinking right now? How are you liking Project 2025? Project 2025 is not about governing. It's not about policy. It's not about dodgy, the Department of Government Efficiency, which I think is now the way it really should be pronunciated, dodgy, because the whole bloody thing is dodgy. It's not about any of that. It's about the complete reconstruction, deconstruction, and then somewhat of a reconstruction of government as a fascist entity, as an entity that is of, by, and for the billionaires in the corporations. Returning this country to a country where if you're a senior citizen, you must continue to work until you're dead, or you'll lose your housing and the ability to feed yourself. Where the public education system no longer exists. You only get an education if you can afford it. Where labor unions do not exist. Where there's literally nothing to protect you from your employers. Where employers, we're talking about going back to the West Virginia mining company towns, where the company owned your home, the company ran the school, the company owned the general store, and that, yeah, they paid you a salary, but then you basically paid the salary back to the company in rent and food prices and so on and so on and so on. So how are you digging it so far? How we liking Project 2025? Because here's the scary bit. We're only 3 weeks in. We've got at least 2 more years of this. That's if we have elections in 2026. And perhaps even more so, if we have elections in 2026, will they be fair? Republican voter purges continue throughout this country. Texas, Florida, the Midwest, the South, the mountain states, other than Colorado, continue to purge voters who do not vote Republican at alarming rates. So I had this Constitution, or this, I said Constitution because I saw Lewis's comment there. Lewis mentions, why is our Constitution considered the highest law in the land, yet it is infringed the most, and infringers are not punished? Because there's no enforcement mechanism, is the short answer. Things can be illegal but not be criminal. You can violate the Constitution. Many of these Trump executive orders are blatantly unconstitutional. But simply because something is unconstitutional does not mean it is criminally illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is illegal. But it is not criminally illegal. And what you've heard J.D. Vance and Trump himself talk about is that there is no enforcement mechanism. The federal courts, the Federal Appeals Court, even the Supreme Corporation, which the right wing owns anyway, could occasionally have a little bit of backbone and try to push back against these, but they have no enforcement mechanism. The Supreme Court doesn't have a police force. Congress does not have a police force. Then again, current Congress is completely complicit in all of this. Completely complicit? I think I did bad grammar there. I think I did bad some grammar there. But this Congress is fully complicit in all of this. But Congress has no enforcement mechanisms. They don't have a police force. Yes, there are the Capitol Police, but they're not like a fully vested law enforcement agency. They can't go exercise warrants, arrest people, jail people, and so on. I wish they could, especially after January 6, 2021. But and this article came up, I think yesterday I posted this. I really think it was yesterday. Yeah, well, it was written yesterday, so I think I posted it yesterday. This is an article that I think is particularly illustrative of what Project 2025 is really about. That it's not about policy. It's not about governing. It's not about progress. And I don't mean progress in the sense of progressive. It's not about progress, period. It's about control. It's about ending democracy in this country. It's about chopping government to such a point that billionaires no longer have to pay taxes. Because remember, Project 2025 does not call for cuts in taxes for the rich or cuts in corporate taxes. It calls for the elimination of them. That rich people no longer have to pay taxes. That the biggest corporations will no longer have to pay taxes. That's Project 2025. And in that vein, I bring you this. This is an article from the Associated Press. And again, completely unsolicited, by the way. They're not paying me anything. Damn it. The Associated Press app is a really good app. It's pretty darn easy to use. I'm not thrilled with the most recent redesign of it, but it's pretty easy to use. The articles are short, easy to comprehend. They're short reads, 5-minute read. They're very well written. They're down the middle. Just the facts, ma'am, so to speak. So this is from the Associated Press. This was posted yesterday by the author of the article is Elliot Spagat, Spagat. I hope I am saying that correctly. Could be Spagat. I'm not sure how we say that or what the enunciation is of that. I hate butchering people's names, but I don't know how to say it, so I have to come up with something. Headline: Justice Department fires 20 immigration judges from backlogged courts amid major government cuts. I thought Trump was going to solve immigration. I thought he was going to get rid of the backlogs in the courts. Thought he was going to fix all that. Turns out, now what word would I like to use here? Turns out, it's all bullshit. It's about eliminating the people who determine the legality and constitutionality of things, the judges. Plus, we don't have to pay 20 judges. Because God knows the $400 billion that Musk is worth just isn't enough. By God, how does he make it? How does he support his 11 children on $400 billion in wealth? Gosh, how does he do it? Headline: Justice Department fires 20 immigration judges from backlogged courts amid major government cuts. Again, this is an article from the Associated Press. The author of the article, oh God, it's the last time I ordered from this restaurant, I think, is Elliot Spagat, S-P-A-G-A-T. I'm going to go with Spagat. I think that's how we're going to do it. Dateline San Diego. Trump administration fired 20 immigration judges without explanation, a union official said Saturday, amid sweeping moves to shrink the size of the federal government. On Friday, 13 judges, nothing ironic about that, Friday 13 judges, who had yet to be sworn in, and 5 assistant chief immigration judges were dismissed without notice, said Matthew Biggs, president of the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers, which represents federal workers. 2 other judges were fired under similar circumstances in the last week. It was unclear if they would be replaced. The U.S. Justice Department's Executive Office for Immigration Review, which runs the courts and oversees its roughly 700 judges, did not immediately respond to a request for comment Saturday. Immigration courts are backlogged with more than 3.7 million cases, according to the Syracuse University's Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, and it takes years to decide asylum cases. There is support across the political spectrum for more judges and support staff through the first Trump administration, though the first Trump administration also pressured some judges to decide cases more quickly. The Trump administration earlier replaced 5 top court officials, including Mary Chang, the agency's acting director, Circe Owen, the current leader and previously an appellate immigration judge, has issued a slew of new instructions, many reversing policies of the Biden administration. Last month, the Justice Department halted financial support for non-governmental organizations to provide information and guidance to people facing deportation, but restored funding after a coalition of nonprofit groups filed a federal lawsuit. The firings touch on 2 top Trump priorities: mass deportations and shrinking the size of the federal government. On Thursday, it ordered agencies to lay off nearly all probationary employees who had not yet gained civil service protection, potentially affecting hundreds of thousands of workers. Probationary workers generally have less than a year on the job. The federal government accounts for, depending on where you get the info, it can change. You would think it would be a static official number, but it seems to change depending on how you look at it. It's 18 to 20% of the gross domestic product. Now, when I heard that, I thought to myself, that's too much. I think the discussion about the size and role of government is perfectly legit. We should have those discussions. The framers wanted us to have those discussions. The original schism in the role of the federal government from the inception of the Constitution that led to the two-party system that we have was based on that discussion. With Jefferson and Madison's Democratic Party taking the position that if the Constitution does not specifically say we cannot do this, then we can. It doesn't stop us, so it means we must be able to do it. And what would eventually be the Republicans, the more conservative, the more right-wing, the more states' rights, if you will, party thinking, well, the Constitution does not specifically say you can do that, therefore you can't. Those discussions are healthy. They should be regular discussions. The framers intended them to be regular discussions. Jefferson is I don't know the quote, I always butcher it and I paraphrase it, and I might even paraphrase it quite badly. Is famous for saying in the Federalist Papers and his letters back and forth between the framers that the Constitution should be amended on a regular basis. A constitutional convention should happen I think he called for it every 20 years, that the Constitution should be revisited and updated and changed and altered to meet a changing society. Project 2025 calls for a fundamental rewriting of the Constitution from A to Z. It calls for the codification of corporate personhood, a complete change in how the executive branch operates, the amount of power that it has. It completely talks about redefining and dramatically reducing the amount of power that the legislative branch has. So these discussions are healthy. They are okay. But the federal government is about 18 to 20% of gross domestic product. If this second Trump regime should continue to fire federal workers in the millions, which is what they're looking at, Musk has talked about cutting as many as 2 million federal workers, we'll have a depression. Not a recession. A depression. Wow, geez, if these folks get out of work, they'll just apply for unemployment. Project 2025 calls for the elimination of unemployment benefits. Calls for the elimination of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and the Department of Energy and the Department of Labor and the Department of Education. See where I'm going here? All because billionaires don't want to pay. Because they don't want to pay taxes. They do not want to be contributors to this society. Which is why they have to try to convince you that we are not a society. That we are not a community. Another example. This is from today, earlier today. Dismantling of federal efforts to monitor election interference creates opening for foreign meddling. Why would the Trump administration want to increase foreign intervention in domestic elections? Because they're the beneficiaries of it. Israel, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, Hungary, all openly talked about how they wanted Trump back in office. During the election, as many as 38% of the political pages on Facebook were Russian bots. They were traced back to Russia, disseminating political propaganda, attacks on the Biden administration. So, of course, the Trump regime doesn't want to stop the flow of money, especially if that money is going to be spent to keep them in power. This is written by Ali Swenson and Christina Cassidy of the Associated Press. Further evidence, further explanation, further details coloring inside the lines of how Project 2025 is not about government efficiency. It's about feudalism. The solidification, the codification of billionaire control over this country in perpetuity. The end of democracy. Dateline, New York. When a suspicious video of ballots being ripped up in Pennsylvania gained attention on social media last October, federal agencies responded quickly and called it out as Russian disinformation. On Election Day in November, bomb threats to polling places in numerous states caused relatively few disruptions to voting. It's one of the many scenarios covered by the nation's cyber security agency in its outreach to state and local officials. The future of that assistance is now uncertain. The Trump administration's downsizing and disbanding of federal agencies has hit efforts that improve election security and monitor foreign influence. That could create gaps for America's enemies to exploit the next time the country holds a major election. And when would that be? 2026, the congressional election cycle. Russians would be able to infiltrate social media, hack websites, pour money into making sure that the Trumpers keep, if not expand, control of Congress, thus nullifying your votes, because you don't have Russian hackers. You don't have a stable of Russian hackers in your basement. You don't have hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to spend. You have activism. You can share posts, you can share videos, you can share this program, and I hope that you will do all of those things, but you don't have the billions to put behind it. Quote, "Our adversaries are upping their game every day," said former Department of Homeland Security Cyber Chief Suzanne Spalding. "I'm worried that we are, at the same time, tearing down our defenses." Unquote. Last week, new Attorney General Pam Bondi disbanded an FBI task force focused on investigating foreign influence operations, including those that target the U.S. elections. She also limited the scope of enforcement actions on people who do not disclose lobbying on behalf of foreign governments. She wrote that the changes would, quote, "free resources to address more pressing priorities and end risks of further weaponization and abuses of prosecutorial discretion." The only people who want to end the investigations of foreign interference in our elections are the ones who are benefiting from it. The only ones who want to end the investigations of waste, fraud, and abuse are the ones who are benefiting from it. Why the hell do you think all the inspectors general were fired? Why do you think Musk got new contracts with the Defense Department and NASA after their inspectors general were fired. By the way, Trump cannot close these agencies by executive order. They were created by Congress. They are funded by Congress. It takes an act of Congress to disband them. Except that he's doing it anyway, because he's ignoring the courts and he's disbanding them and making them non-effective while the courts rule on these things. USAID has been protected by the courts. The Trump administration has so far ignored those court decisions. Even if by some miracle, some enforcement mechanism should be found, USAID has been permanently damaged. A bill was introduced in Congress this last week to shutter, to end, to close the Department of Education. Congress created it. Congress has to get rid of it. The bill is now introduced. What do you suppose all your property taxes are going to happen? What do you suppose are going to happen to all your property taxes without the Department of Education? Double, triple, quadruple. Our local county executive here in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, I will withhold commentary, told county council that if federal funding to Northampton County were to end, county property taxes would triple to make up for the money. Triple. Put that on top of whatever would happen to your local municipal property taxes when the Department of Education is closed. Isn't it interesting that Linda McMahon had confirmation hearings this week to head a department she has been ordered to close? By the way, you can find it on YouTube. She was being asked questions by, gosh, which senator was it now? I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember. It was either Michael Bennet of Colorado, could have been Elizabeth Warren, where her answer to everything was, I'll look at that and I'll get back to you on it. In other words, I don't want to answer your question here in public, and I don't want to answer it under oath. So I'll just keep saying, I understand your question, I respect it, thank you for it. I would have to look into that and get back to you. At least she's a little more conscious about lying under oath to a Senate committee than, say, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Russell Vogt, Pete Hegseth, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., all of which lied outright in their confirmation hearings. Let me return back to the article here. The Trump administration has also made sweeping cuts at the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which oversees the nation's critical infrastructure, including election systems. On Saturday, a senior DHS, Department of Homeland Security, official said mass firings of federal employees in probationary status had resulted in cuts of more than 130 employees at the CISA. It was not immediately clear whether those included 17 employees who had worked on election security who were placed on leave last week. The DHS official on Saturday also said the CISA was pausing all election security activities pending a review of their funding. This is time that is never going to get back. We're never going to get it back. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that their security activities, that this pause lasts even a week. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 6 months. We're never going to get that time back. Monitoring election security does not happen only a week, a month, an hour before election day. It is constant. In fact, I think you could probably make the argument that if I were the Russians, one of the times I would try to hack election systems is in a year like 2025. There's a gubernatorial election in New Jersey and one in Virginia. The rest of across the country are usually local and county elections. 8 other states have judicial elections. Pennsylvania is one of them. It's actually kind of a good year to try to get yourself hacked into the system when the overwhelming majority of the American public isn't paying attention. The agency was ending its involvement in a voluntary program that shared information about cyber defenses with state and local election officials. So hey, state and local election officials, you're on your own. Because God knows states and municipalities are so good at fighting foreign infiltration. There's only a handful of states in this country that even have anything resembling a foreign policy. California would be one. It's the 5th largest economy on the planet. By itself. The actions send a message that securing U.S. elections against interference from countries such as Russia, China, and Iran is no longer a federal government priority, said Larry Norden, an election expert with the Brennan Center for Justice. Quote, I think we would be naive to think that the bad guys don't get that message too. That there's going to be less of a cop on the beat and protect our elections. State and local governments run elections in the United States, but federal support in recent years has helped them protect against escalating threats, coordinate with other election offices on security, and expose foreign influence campaigns designed to undermine voter confidence. So Project 2025 is not in any way, shape, or form about fairness, about democracy, about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. Foreign billionaires want a piece of this government too. Not just Musk, although he is a foreign billionaire. They want to buy their piece of the federal government too. They already own the Trump party. They already own that. They don't want to pay taxes here either. They want a chunk of that federal budget that they can stick in their own pockets. They want to help you, quote unquote, decide who to vote for. By lying to you, scaring you, propagandizing against the people they don't want to see in office. This is not about reducing the size of government for efficiency. It's about destroying the federal government. It's about completely taking away its ability to defend you from the top 1%. Headline: Trump administration cuts reach FDA employees in food safety, medical devices, and tobacco products. Because after all, nobody feels like dying of food poisoning. Nobody's afraid of that, right? Why would that be important? Article from the Associated Press written by Matthew Perrone was uploaded today. Dateline, Washington. Trump administration's effort to slash the size of the federal workforce has reached the Food and Drug Administration this weekend, as recently hired employees who review the safety of food ingredients, medical devices, and other products were fired. Probationary employees across the FDA received notices Saturday evening that their jobs were being eliminated, according to 3 FDA staffers who spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. If it wasn't for these leaks, we wouldn't know any of this. The total number of positions eliminated was not clear today, but the firings appeared to focus on employees in the agency's centers for food, medical devices, and tobacco products, which includes oversight of electronic cigarettes. It was not clear whether FDA employees who review drugs were exempted. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced plans to fire 5,200 probationary employees across its agencies, which include the National Institutes of Health, the FDA, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Because you really would want to dramatically reduce the number of people at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention just when bird flu is starting to now, no pun intended, migrate into humans. This is exactly when you would want to cut your defenses for that. One of the hidden, I don't know if it's hidden, one of the, I think, much lesser known things about billionaires, and it's kind of one of those weird, almost conspiracy theory kind of things. The billionaires that think, that think there's alien technology that they want to make sure they get their hands on so that they can profit from it, and the ones that believe in the Book of Revelation and so on and so on and so on. One of those sort of what would be considered to be, I guess, outside the norm, odd conspiracy theory type things that seems to run rampant through a number of billionaires is their belief that the earth is overpopulated. There's just too many of us. There's not too many billionaires. They're all happy. But there's too many of the rest of us. So, if a bunch of us should die off because there's no federal protection from bird flu, the impending bird flu pandemic, a significant mutation in COVID, which would possibly bring all that back again. 2 of my friends are suffering from COVID right now. They just got it a couple weeks ago. COVID is still a thing. Hundreds die every single week from COVID. Seems like a perfect time to reduce, if not eliminate, the potential federal assistance and protections from such things. Billionaires think there's too many of us anyway. It's easier to control a lower number of people. And then once you eliminate child labor laws, you have kids to do the work. And since we're going to eliminate public education, they don't need to be in school. We can send them right back into the mines and the meat packing plants and the chicken farms and just the produce farms and the warehouse distribution centers. We do all that. See how it all fits together? I know a lot of you think that it might not all fit together, but it does. It all fits together. People who spoke with the AP on condition of anonymity on Friday said the number of probationary employees to be laid off at the CDC would total nearly 1,300. But as of early Sunday afternoon, about 700 people had received notices, according to 3 people who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. They said none of the CDC layoffs affected young doctors and researchers who track diseases and what's known as the Epidemic Intelligence Service. Musk has already called for the elimination of all probationary employees, all of them, period. Because they're the easy ones to fire. They're not in the union yet. They don't have tenure, if you will. They're not protected by the civil service laws. So the fact that these folks haven't been fired yet, I would say the emphasis is on yet. Now, at the end of the week, I don't know that I'll be able to find the article now. At the end of the week, with these mass Prime Minister Musk directed firings, I think it was about 1,300, if I'm not mistaken, people were fired from the Department of Energy. Turns out, after the fact, the Trump administration had to be told by the press that the people they had fired were in charge, or at least partially in charge, of monitoring the nation's nuclear weapons stockpile. And so, after informing them that they had all been fired, the regime had to go back to them and say, oh, by the way, you're not fired anymore, you better show up to work. If I was some of those people, and I'm not sure what would be the best way. You want to keep your job. You want to be able to pay your bills. You want to be able to do the job you were hired for. I suspect all of these folks take their jobs very, very seriously in their capacity to protect the nation's nuclear stockpile. But I have to think that maybe some of them were thinking to themselves, you know what, F you. Screw you. Let the bombs start to blow themselves up in their silos. Fine with us. Maybe one person did that. Maybe 2, maybe 5. But one's too many. Again, this is not about the reduction of government. This is not about eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse. This is not getting better bang for your buck, your tax dollars. They want to steal your tax dollars because they want tax cuts for themselves. The less people that work for government, the more privatization has to happen. And then they can make more money that way. Do you see how the blanket, how the quilt is woven together? All these various strings being woven into one tapestry. Except that tapestries are usually beautiful. This isn't. Nothing about Project 2025 is about you. It's about them. It's about them. It's not about you. Yes, Vampirus, we did start already. We start at 6 p.m. on Sundays. Tuesdays and Thursdays we start at 8, 6 p.m. on Sundays. So this is not about you. Remember, we've said this a 1,000 times before. I'm sure you're going to get sick of it. If you're not already sick of it. I would be. The billionaires think there's only 3 types of humans left in this country. Can you 1. 1 out of 3. Do you create wealth for the billionaires through your labor? Which is why they want kids to be part of the labor force again. They're non-unionized and they're cheap. That's why we want to get rid of the Department of Labor. We don't want OSHA. We don't want worker safety anymore. That's expensive. So from the billionaire's point of view, there's only 3 types of people left. Number 1, do you create wealth for them through your labor? Type of person number 2, do you create wealth for them through your consumerism? Do you buy what they're putting out there? Type number 3, do you create wealth for them through your existence as a data point? Can they sell and market your data for profit? Remember, Musk is looking for, supposedly, or at least publicly, he says he's looking for waste, fraud, and abuse and monetary efficiencies in government. So what better way to find all that than to hire a bunch of prepubescent computer hackers? Not accountants, not forensic accountants, not former CEOs, CFOs, not even bankers or former loan officers, treasurers, controllers, comptrollers. No, a handful of 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old computer hackers. Because after all, they certainly know about accounting. And the less that government can do for itself, the more it gets privatized. Privatization is never more efficient. It just isn't. Because government doesn't have a profit motive. Private corporations do. The more of government that is privatized, the less efficient it will become. But then again, Musk isn't really looking for efficiency. He's looking for profit. He's looking to take your money and put it in his pocket because he doesn't give a shit about you. Because you are nothing to him other than a source of money. Remember, this is a man who has said in public, in interviews before, that he genuinely doesn't understand why people don't work for him for free, just for the joy of it. He doesn't understand why he actually has to pay people. Why don't they just work for me because they like me? Or because we're doing life-saving work? You're not. You're a greedy billionaire. You're an apartheidist, racist, greedy billionaire. You haven't created F all. You bought other people's stuff and called it yours. Let's reset the program. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Here, coming to you live from the Lehigh Valley here in Pennsylvania. This is the Kennedy Effect for Sunday, February the 16th, 2025. We are live right now on the Facebook pages of Our Revolution Pennsylvania, the TCP Media Group, Hot101.net, and Ghost Claw Productions. We are also live on the Home Group Facebook page for all things that surround the Kennedy Effect, that other side of information. We are live on 2 YouTube channels right now. The YouTube channel, home of Ghost Claw Productions Radio, and that other side of information, which is our YouTube. And we are live on 2 global internet radio stations. One of the very first, one of the most recent, Hot101.net. Our name is our web address. Go to our main website, Hot101.net, and you can listen there for free. But you don't need the website to listen to us. You can use our apps, Apple App Store for Apple devices, Google Play Store for Android, and the TuneIn Radio app for all other types of devices. You can tell Alexa to play hot101.net as well. You can listen on any type of device that can connect to the internet, desktops and laptops and tablets and phones. And, I said tablets. You can Bluetooth to speakers and earbuds and earphones, these, and all sorts of things. You can Bluetooth it in the car, Bluetooth it in the shower, because, by the way, if you want to sing along, don't we all sound better in the car and the shower? GCPR, Ghost Claw Productions Radio.live is the website, GCPR.live. You can find us on any search engine. Go to our website. You can listen there for free as well. We have a fully functional Android app, so if you have an Android-operated device, tablet or phone, or I guess laptop too. I guess Android works. I guess there's Android operated laptops, I think. George will either shake his head and tell me I'm an idiot. No, you're wrong, you fool. Or I'm not sure. Anyway, maybe I'll know. Maybe he knows. I don't know. You can find us. You can find the app for us there. We have a fully functional Android app. You can download it for free, Google Play Store, and you can listen to us through the app. An Apple app is on its way. I think it'll be a real game changer for GCPR. It'll just give you easier ways to listen to us. Programming following us on the various radio stations. On hot101.net, the music resumes immediately after we leave the air. Following us on GCPR.live, The Villain's View from 9 p.m. Eastern Time. All the times are Eastern, unless we tell you anything differently. From 9 p.m. Eastern Time, The Villain's View. 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Conversations with T. Nathan. And Thomas begins your broadcast work week tomorrow morning from 8 a.m. with the sound of coffee. George and I are scheduled to be back with you Tuesday from 8 p.m. and Thursday from 8 p.m. George returns to you Tuesday from 6 p.m. with the Help Desk, where he co-hosts with Gilbert. If you have computer questions, when you're at work and your computer goes bye-bye, what do? You call the help desk, or I can't print, or this program won't open, or I forgot my password, or things like that. You call the help desk. GCPR has a help desk, and it is live on the radio and most, if not all, of these same social media outlets for you to view. Tuesdays from 6 p.m. They take your phone calls, take your questions in the comments and via phone. It's literally a help desk. That's why they call it that. I can't believe that for as long as that show has been on now, that people, that they are not like oversaturated with phone calls. You all have computers and devices. You all screw them up. They all go wrong at some point, because God knows mine do, sometimes even without me touching them. It's got to be happening to you too. Call George and Gilbert. They have the answers for you. They can help you through these things. The Help Desk airs on GCPR Live every Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. And then George, double duty for George on Tuesdays. He hangs in there with me for another hour for TKE Tonight on Tuesdays as well. So there's your programming schedule. Randall, I know this will come as a shock to all of you in the audience. He would like to call the... So he's been bugging me for about the last hour and a half. Did you fix the phones? Did you fix the phones? I have no idea. I honestly don't know. We think we did. We think we did. So if you want to be the guinea pig, go for it. Very simple. Special hello to Jeremy from America One Radio, which is yet another radio network that we are planning and hoping to expand into eventually. Hopefully that means Jeremy's America One was down this weekend with upgrades. Hopefully, since Jeremy's tuned in, I hope that means that the upgrades are done and it went well. Or he's so frustrated and sick of doing upgrades that he decided to tune in. It could be either one. I gotta think he's gonna want to be done though before Monday. But so my hope is that he's done, because I know when George and I do upgrades, it ain't pretty. I can't imagine upgrading an entire radio network. That can't be fun. It just can't be. I can't even imagine. But anyway, phone line is open. Somebody screwed up my keyboard here. Phone line is open. Upgrades are done, he says. Yeah. With a big yay. Yes. I've teased the expansion of this program to you way too many times. Because something seems to have always gotten in the way of it. But my hope is within, hopefully maybe by our 6th anniversary. I don't think that's outrageous, because we took the air April 17th of 2019. So we're into our 6th calendar year. Our actual anniversary falls on a Thursday, so I guess we'll have to celebrate on that Thursday, because the 13th is Palm Sunday. We do normally take to the air Palm Sunday. We will not be on the air for Easter Sunday, so maybe we'll have to celebrate on that Thursday night. But my hope is that by the 6th anniversary of our program, that we will be able to finally announce to you expansion to PDX as well as America One, that those things will be salted away, as it were, and that this face made for radio will yet inhabit 2 more radio stations. But this face made for radio will finally live where it belongs, on radio. not just these simulcasts and so on. But Jeremy, who's the owner, operator, guru, upgrader in chief of all the software there at America One, really thrilled every time that he's able to join the program, and very, very appreciative of him, to be very, very honest of you, to share the program to his Facebook page and so on. I always tell you folks, I ask you all to share our program into different Facebook groups that you're part of if you think it's appropriate, and some of the places it might not be, friends, family, and so on. Jeremy, who owns this progressive radio outlet that is very, very well known and has the biggest progressive radio hosts in the country on his air, found us online one night because you shared the program, and we have become friends, and I suspect that I have every expectation that we'll be joining America One, like I said, hopefully by our anniversary. But it's because you shared the program. It's because you listened to it and you liked it and you shared it out across Facebook or Instagram or wherever the places are that you share it. And he found us. And, you know, it's one of the good things about this internet age. It can still bring us together on occasion. Phone line is open, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. Oh goodness, I'm trying to get back to the service that has the Google Voice. Alright, we're gonna find out here. We're gonna find out here if this is working now. I have homework for you listening at home. Randall's on the line. I have answered the phone. How about, first off, great congratulations to Randall for finding the courage enough to call us. He is a quiet, shy individual who does not generally who generally does not like to talk to us on the phone and does not like to make himself the center of attention, but he stepped up here to the plate to help us figure out if the phones are working. So homework for you at home. That's Vampirus, and I think Bettina's still with us. I think Jeremy's with us. Donna said goodnight. She signed out early. I don't blame her. If you can hear Randall at home, please let us know. I can hear him. I think George can hear him, so I think we fixed all that, but we'll know better in about 3 seconds after I say, Randall, good evening, it's all you. Go ahead. We'll find out in about a couple of seconds here in the chat whether everybody can hear you or not. Take it away.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America. And it's wonderful Sunday night with Jeff and George and the old crews listening in.
Okay, so, George, did you hear that? Say something out so we can see if Randall can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear him on Facebook as well.
Can you hear George?
Well, I'm only on my telephone because of the time difference. I have to turn down my Facebook audio.
Yeah, but you should be able to hear George over the phone. Did you not hear him over the phone?
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Did you hear
I hear you.
Okay, good. Then we fixed it. Holy...
Good.
I am never turning the computer off ever again. And Jeremy says in the chat he can hear Randall. So holy crap. We fixed everything. Wow. No wonder it snowed. Anyway, go ahead, my friend. Take it away. I think we're going to try to get to... We'll try to get to the pre-show of the Villain's View. Go ahead. I'm losing my voice. I can hear it. Starting to hurt.
Just bear with me. So, George and Jeff, it sounds like the Lehigh Valley snowed because the temperature from this next extreme Arctic polar vortex is hitting us tonight down here. Our problem down here, it rained all day. And, you know, any low spots in the roads are just going to be absolute black ice tomorrow. And then we've got, well, earlier, the winds down here were gusting at 55 miles per hour. And the local news stations all said sometime between 2 and 3 a.m. this morning, here Eastern time, it's going to go up to 60 miles per hour gusting. And yeah, I've got neighbors whose trash cans and lawn furniture are down the road because they didn't listen and, you know, be prepared for everything. But in any case, you did a good show tonight, Jeff. You hit many important areas, but there's so many more of how Trump, who absolutely lied during the whole campaign that I don't know anything about Project 2025. Yeah, he's put in most of the authors, and he's put the main co-author of Project 2025 in charge of the Office of Budget and Management.
Yep. And made the author of the foreword to the, I don't want to say the novelization of Project 2025, but the book form of it, the paper book form of it that you can buy. That would be J.D. Vance that wrote that for you.
Yep,
that wrote that for you, and he didn't know any, but somehow he didn't know anything about Project 2025 either, even though he wrote the foreword to the book.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question, Randall. I don't mean to cut you off. Actually, I do mean to cut you off. Heck with you! I'm in charge here. I'm kidding. I want to ask you a question. And I mean this legitimately. I really do. How did America get so stupid? And remember, there's a real difference between dumb and stupid. Dumb is taking your hand and putting it on the hot stove burner and burning yourself. Stupid is doing it twice. When did America get so stupid? We know... Look, you try to educate people in a campaign. That's part of campaigning, is to educate the electorate. So maybe they didn't believe that Project 2025 was that bad, even though the actual text of it was out there. You could find it. You can still find it. when J.D. Vance told people during this campaign, I have no idea what it is. Sir, you wrote the foreword to the book. I'm holding it right here. It says foreword by J.D. Vance. Yeah, I still don't know what that is. When did we get that stupid that we could watch this happen on TV and go, oh, well, obviously he's not lying. He says he doesn't know anything about it. Here's the book. Here's the bloody effing book right in front of you that says forward by J.D. Vance. It's right here. When did we get so stupid?
I think there's a couple of parts of answer to that question. Number one, during the late 70s, school districts started cutting programs that weren't required by the state. For example, here in Pennsylvania, for me to graduate my senior year of high school in 1970, I had to pass, and of course I could have passed it with a D, but I got an A. I had to pass a full year of a course called Principles of Economics and Democracy. And in that course, we discussed capitalism, socialism, communism, Marxism, the whole gambit. And the same thing, we discussed what's a democracy, whether it was direct democracy like the ancient Greeks, or whether it was a republic style of government like the ancient Romans, or like we created here in this country with our U.S. Constitution. And that was the beginning, in my opinion, of dumbing down of America, at least here in PA. And then at the end of the 70s, well, heck, my school district I grew up and graduated from, they cut their gifted program. Oh, the taxpayers, the senior citizens are screaming, oh, the school taxes are too high. I ran for school board and I lost, but that was my main gig. I wanted to restore the gifted programs, in high school especially. And it just rolled over the decades that you get the total misinformation from the mass media, especially cable, starting with Fox. But it's carrying over to now. I don't watch CNN ever anymore. I just watch MSNBC, but then I go to other places, like I read, like you do, AP articles, etc. And it's hard. I'm retired. I have the time to do that.
Do you ever watch Free Speech TV?
I'm sorry?
Do you ever watch Free Speech TV? You can watch Free Speech TV.
I've never watched that. I've never watched that.
Yeah, well, we need to do that. I need to put that link. I will put that link in the the chat. It's free online. Some cable companies carry it. DirecTV has it. What was the one I had in Jersey? Optimum used to carry it. Actually, they were just adding it when I was moving, which really stunk. DirecTV had it. I think Dish might have it. Don't know how many other cable companies have it. There are some, but you can watch it free online. I'll put the link in the chat. That's where you can watch the video simulcasts of, among others, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Randy Rhodes, and I think what is really, I've been sharing the headlines, the headline portion of the program on our Facebook group, That Other Side of Information, what I think might just be the most informative straight news program available now, with all respect to Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow and all of them. I think the most straightforward news program that you might be able to find right now is Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman. All of that is at Free Speech TV. I'll put the link in the chat. I highly recommend it.
Hey, I watch Democracy. I watch that on YouTube.
Right. She's on... that show actually airs on free speech TV, I think, is where it actually originates. But regardless, it might be the best straightforward newscast going at the moment.
Anyway, the traditional, let's go back to Ronald Reagan being elected and sworn in January 20th, 1991. And one of the first things he did away with in his administration was the equal clause through the FCC for television and radio. And that is what is really, that's another thing, again, that really started the downgrade of true information for Americans to assimilate and make their own decisions about government, etc. And yeah, I grew up. I grew up. Local TV stations would put it on like just before they went off the air at 12 a.m. and they had the test pattern. But yeah, that's when they would put on the alternative opinions of, let's say, the station had their opinion, and then this person over here, this individual over here, does not like the station's opinion. They could demand through the free speech requirement at that time to go on the air. And yeah, they put it on late at night, but hey, it was there. It was there for you to listen to both sides and make your own opinion, not just hammering from one side, 24/7.
Right, it was there to try to get you to think, not to tell you how to think. And there's a difference.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
and
it's I know that I've received a lot of pushback about this, and I have, both privately and on the air. But maybe it's immature. I'll take the hit if it's immature. But I honestly do believe that part of the Democratic rebuttal pushback messaging has to be, told you so. Told you. We told you what was coming. You didn't listen. Because he hates brown people, just like you do. You didn't listen. You didn't listen and learn from the lessons of the first regime. You didn't listen to what he told you he was going to do. The shutdown of USAID has already cost Midwest farmers about $600 million in revenue. There are foodstuffs at American ports waiting to be sent overseas that is rotting. It's going to be completely garbage and wasted.
And that is $350 million of American food that could have helped starving children and starving families around the world rotting.
Or how about taking
because Musk
doesn't want to pay taxes? How about taking it a step further, though? Yeah, but let's take it a step further. All right, fine. You hate starving children in Africa. We know Musk does, because he grew up hating people of color in Africa. He left Africa when people of color actually regained the right to self-determination. Fine, you hate starving black babies in Africa. They didn't even have the brains to take that food from the ports and distribute it to homeless shelters or churches or to help veterans in need. They left it there to rot. Because if they put it back on trucks and trucked it throughout the country, somebody would have to pay for that too. Everything that they are doing is about money. They want to keep their money, and they want your money in their pocket. What's theirs is theirs, and what's yours is theirs. Think about somebody had mentioned on the Hartman program last week, about government cheese. Do you remember the government cheese that Reagan gave away? He was literally going to take all of this excess cheese, put it on ships, take it out to sea, and dump it. Because he didn't like the idea of giving anything away to anybody. And he was finally convinced of the PR boost, if you will, of giving this excess government cheese away to people. Give it to seniors, give it to the poor, give it to homeless shelters, give it to... And again, we didn't really have homeless shelters in this country before Reagan, but we certainly did during Reagan. To give it to churches to disperse. And he did. And it was a wonderful, wonderful PR move. I remember my grandmother getting the 5-pound block of American cheese. My family ate it for like a month. We loved it. We made sandwiches with it. We made grilled cheese with it. We ate it with crackers. We cut it up and put it in the salads. I mean, we used it. We loved it. And I think she may have gotten a second block at some point too. We couldn't have been happier. And we thought to ourselves, well, what a very nice thing from the Reagan administration. What a terribly natural piece of common sense. That rather than throw away perfectly good food, that you give it to people to enjoy and not waste. But no, this food continues to sit on our ports, rotting and wasting away, because these billionaires and Trump, whom they own, are so myopic, they're so hateful, they are so greedy, that even if in some strange way you want to accept, fine, we're not going to send this food overseas, it's too expensive, and we're not going to help these starving children in Africa and Southeast Asia when we have starving people at home. Well, then take the food and give it to the starving people at home. But we can't do that either, because God knows we can't award poverty. Because God knows poor people, they're just lazy and choosing to be that way anyway. Can you see how evil this is? How terribly, terribly depraved this is. All because Musk and the other billionaires and the former functional political party that they now own hate you. They just hate you. They sure as hell hate you if you're trans or gay. They hate you if you are a different skin color. And even if you're white, even if you're as pasty white as Musk, as I am, well, you don't have any wealth, so I don't like you either. Who do they want there to be left? 330 million people in this country. What do they want to get the population down to? A couple hundred? Who's going to do all the work for them? They're going to run out of serfs. There's nothing about any of this where you, the 99.9%, because this isn't even almost, you can make the argument that this is not even just a 99 versus the 1 at this point. It's the 1/10 of 1%. Musk and the billionaires don't even think the millionaires are worth anything.
And that's one of the reasons why Trump loves Putin. Because Putin, his actual wealth is over $1 trillion. His personal actual wealth is over $1 trillion by being a dictator in his country of Russia. That's why Trump will just bow down and kiss Putin's you-know-what.
Thank you.
Well, I know I'm on radio again, so I'm not...
Thank you for the editing, sir.
I know we're in Hot 101, so no. I am watching what I always say. Now I might put it in print.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, I always try. And I'm human, and yes, sometimes I mess up and a word slips out. But in any case, I remember, when I went all through elementary, junior high, and high school especially. The system that was done to prop up farmers and specific commodities was the government to buy surplus to keep the price up of the farmers.
Yep.
And distribute it, like the schools.
Yep.
Hey, those big 5-pound blocks, yeah, we had grilled cheese sandwiches for lunch in public schools.
But they were good, though. That's the thing. They were good. They were yummy.
Yeah, absolutely. In any case, I have a question for you, Jeff.
I love it. Questions. Bring it.
We both know the ultimate game plan of Project 2025, the absolute final game plan of multi-billionaires and the richest man on the planet, Musk, with his maybe $1 billion minion, President Trump. The game plan is absolutely to set up in the 21st century a new world order of feudalism by the oligarchy, to turn us all into everyone, children, parents, grandparents, to turn us all into economic slaves. Yes, we know the real game plan. And I'm hopeful that eventually there will be a revolt. And eventually the revolt will not just be by the people. The revolt eventually will also be by the military. Because all those young soldiers, they've got parents. They've got grandparents. They're going to get hurt very badly by this game plan of the oligarchy. And, it's funny. I just watched again twice. So I think I'm up to 15.
I was going to say, I know where you're going.
Of watching the movie, the 2024 movie Civil War. And yeah, that movie's weird because California and Texas, they joined together against the 3-term dictatorial president in the White House. And you go, how would a liberal and a right-wing repressive state, what would make them join together? And in the movie, there's a little hint. The hyperinflation. It reminds me exactly about the Weimar Republic after World War I. Where it was called the days of warm beer. The very first republic Germany ever had. They just brought old money back and added zeros to the existing money. And that's why it's called the days of warm beer. It was guaranteed if you didn't go in to your bar and buy 2 beers at this price, it was guaranteed if you bought one, by the time you finished the first one, the second one would be doubled in price. And yeah, that was part of it was an early part of Hitler's rise to power. And then we got the Republican National Depression in 29. And what led up to that? I'll tell you what, nobody talks about this. I don't understand. You're a history major. I don't understand. Nobody talks about it. One of the main contributing factors to the Great Republican Depression was the trade wars. Country A raises their tariffs. Country B raises theirs. Country A raises theirs higher. Country B raises theirs even higher. Yeah. Tariffs is one of the main causes of the Republican Great Depression. And nobody wants to talk about that. Or look it up on Google and, read some history. You follow me?
Bad tariffs are also how most, if not all, domestic industries in this country were built. I've told the story on the program before of President Washington's inauguration. He was looking for a suit. He wanted an American-made suit. He could not find one because it was prior to the American Revolution. It was illegal for Americans to make their own clothing. Cotton and wool grown here had to be shipped back to Great Britain, where it was refined and manufactured into clothing. That clothing was then sent over here to be sold, with the proceeds all going to the crown. It was Alexander Hamilton, when Washington said, how do we develop these industries here at home? It was Hamilton that actually took some of what he learned from the crown and said you need a system of tariffs and import taxes, that a suit made in Great Britain can be sold here in the colonies, or then the states, after winning the war, the states, for I don't know, I mean at that point God knows what it cost, $1, $5, $10, whatever it might have been. But if we make it here in the States, it costs $50. So we have to make, because we can't make it in the same quantities, we don't have the same mass production here, so we put a tax on the British made suit to make sure that it's at least costs the same as the American made suit. They either both cost $50, or you tax it to a point where it's more expensive, and then people will naturally buy the product made here inside this country. Tariffs work. They work. They funded the federal government up until 1919. Tariffs and import taxes were the source of revenue for the federal government. They work. They protect and develop domestic industries. The way that the Trump administration is doing it is just everything that comes from Canada now has a 25% import tax. Well, that's mindless. It's simple. It's childlike. It's buckshot. It's just scatterbrained. Now, the tariffs that he has imposed on steel,
what the control Congress
sense.
And Hoover did. And Hoover came in just 1 year into office, continuing these 100% retroactive tariffs against European products. And they raising their tariffs 100% against our products. That is one of the major causes of the Great Republican Recession. Across the board tariffs. And we're making the same mistake. And you talked, I don't know, 2 hours ago. You were foreseeing not a recession again, but a depression again.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree with you on that point.
But who will survive a second Republican Great Depression? The billionaires. They have plenty of money. They have plenty of money. They'll survive just fine. So who cares if they throw the rest of us into depression? Who cares if there's bread and soup lines? By the way, there won't be bread and soup lines because they won't support any of that. It'll be Hooverism all over again. We'll just stay out of the way and let this take care of itself. More tax cuts for rich people, more business in government, less government in business, and it'll all take care of itself. Well, it won't. It won't. And when seniors no longer have Social Security and they become homeless and they die from their diseases and from old age because they can't afford to see doctors anymore, when there are soup and bread lines, when there are not just thousands of homeless but millions of them, tens of millions, when people hop into their cars with whatever possessions they can fit and drive to the cities looking for work, and the children are on street corners selling apples for a nickel to try to keep themselves alive. Maybe then we wake up? I don't know. The tariffs that the Trump administration put on steel imports this week, I happen to think are fine. It's to help protect and prop up American domestic steel. I'm good with it. But to simply say that every single thing that comes in with a made from China label on it is going to be subject to a 25% tariff, it's brain dead. It's lazy and it's mindless. Oh, by the way, that means all Trump merchandise is now going to have a tariff on it. Oh, but somehow I suspect we won't have a tariff on Trump merchandise. I'm sure that will be fine. Because all of his shit is made in China.
China, yes, absolutely. Every piece of his "Make America Great" shit
is made in China.
And I apologize.
All right, let me go because I got a question in the chat I want to get to before we have to wrap up. I'll talk to you Tuesday.
Yeah. In any case, how are you and Christine doing in your marriage, real quick?
She's still here. She didn't come to her senses yet, so she's still here.
I'm heading toward, in June, I'm heading toward 47. And Andrew still hasn't come to her senses yet.
Yeah. She's
right,
still
God
here.
bless. And George, thank you, as usual, for being the technical wizard and getting these new computers for you and Jeff up to par. And I love you guys both.
All right, we'll talk to you Tuesday.
Over on the Village View.
You got it.
God bless.
All right. Now, Vampirus was kind enough to put a message in the chat with the caveat that it's a question that she has asked before, which has not, or at least that she thinks that no one else has really been able to answer. Now, to be honest with you, I think that it is more of a opinion question than a history or I don't know if it's the right term, science question, but I'll take a shot at it. She asks in the chat, what's the difference between Elon Musk and Edward Snowden? Snowden is a figure that I'm extremely conflicted about. Were it not for he, we would not have learned about the depths to which the Patriot Act had led to massive domestic surveillance. We would not have known about some of the revelations that came out about the prisons in Iraq following the George W. Bush illegal second invasion of Iraq. Mr. Snowden was willing to exile himself in Russia to avoid politically based prosecution here. At the same time, I think he was a useful tool of Russia. Where did the chat go? Oh, there it goes. That's strange. That was weird. The whole chat disappeared. That was odd. But anyway, it like emptied and then repopulated itself. Very, very strange. Anyway, this program has a freaking mind of its own. I can't stand it. God, bloody Nora. We've got to get something else to work here. God above, this sucks. That said, the difference between he and Musk: Snowden stole classified, secured information from government computers to publicize them because he felt, his own words, I'm not, you know, I don't think I'm breaking any news here, but that the American public needed to know what he knew. At least in his mind. You can argue whether it was actually good for the country or not. That's a discussion that we can have. Snowden himself felt that he was doing a good for the American society, for all of us, that he was being transparent, that he was educating us. Musk is stealing your private data to make money from it. He wants government payments to go through his payment apps so he can take a piece of every federal payment transaction. He wants to know every man, woman, and child in this country and what they're receiving from the government. He wants your bank account information. And Van Pyrus is right. He has no security clearance. And he doesn't have one just because he didn't ask for one, because he didn't effing qualify for it. And his prepubescent 20-somethings and teenagers running around, they haven't qualified for it either. And he's already stolen $80 million from the city of New York. Nobody knows, by the way, where that $80 million went. Apparently, it did not return to the federal accounts from whence it came. But Musk and his kids, not his biological kids, his computer kids, broke in and stole it. So the difference between Snowden and Musk is at least Snowden, in my humble opinion, felt that he was doing the right thing. I think he broke the law, Edward Snowden. He broke the law. But I happen to believe that he did it out of some kind of principle. He's not jetting around the globe leading a billionaire's life. Musk is just trying to make money. He's trying to become a king. And this is the part of all of this that I think the Trump party people don't realize, is that eventually, if they give Musk everything he wants, and not just him, Peter Thiel, the Mercers, you know, there's so many others, Jeffrey Yass, the Koch network, so many other billionaires. Musk is the face of it all, but there's a lot of other billionaires behind the scenes, the DeVos family. If the Trump party gives the billionaires everything that they want, eventually the billionaires won't need them either. I think a lot of Trumpers do this shit because they think they're going to be cut in on the deal. They're going to get rich too. Musk is going to pay me if I just turn the other way and give him everything he needs. I'm going to get rich on it. No, you're not. Because he's not going to need you at some point either. And you're just going to be another expense that he doesn't want to play. Musk is not getting in trouble like Snowden because he's the richest man on earth. He can't be scapegoated. He can't be made an example of. Think of Mangione, who murdered the United Healthcare CEO, Mark Thompson. Did he murder him? Sure as hell looks like it. He looks guilty as sin, but he's also being made an example of. He's not just in handcuffs when he appears in court. He's in shackles. He's disheveled. He's dirty. He's not allowed to shave. He's charged with domestic terrorism, not just murder. His murder of Mark Thompson is referred to as an assassination. Normally, you only assassinate popes and political figures, not CEOs. Snowden's not a billionaire. He was a very, very small piece in a planet-wide cog. He can be treated differently than Musk because he's not a billionaire. And Musk is. Snowden doesn't own the Trump party. Musk does. Snowden doesn't own one of the largest social media platforms on the planet. Musk does. That's the difference. And you know that. On some level, you know that. Always, always follow the money. Always. Always, always, always. Follow the money. Before Project 2025, Republicans didn't necessarily want to end Social Security. They wanted to privatize it so they could make money on it. But now the right has gone so much further right, from fascism to feudalism, that we just want to get rid of Social Security, period. They don't even want to get their hands on it anymore. They want to empty the account and get rid of it. Let me end with an example specifically for Vampirus, but for all of the rest of you as well. We'll end the program on this story. I'm not sure that this is something you've ever heard before. Loyal listeners to the program will have heard it. When Nikita Khrushchev was the premier of the Soviet Union in the late 50s and 60s, one of his generals came to him and said, "We can't beat the Americans in a war. We can win battles. We have a huge nuclear stockpile, but they have an industrial infrastructure and a monetary infrastructure that we don't have here. We can never beat them in a shooting war." Khrushchev turned to the general and said, "We will never have to. Because they're greedy. Ultimately, what they care about is money more than anything else. And their greed will tear them apart from within. We'll take them and we'll never have to fire a shot." And boy, doesn't he look prescient right now. Doesn't he look like a seer? Because it's where we are now, tearing ourselves apart from within over greed. George, any last thoughts before we turn it over to Villain's View, anything like that?
No, I have nothing. Sorry.
That's what I get for ending early. Turn it over to give you a chance to express some thoughts. No thoughts. I don't get it. We appear to be frozen again. The video's frozen. What is that? Why does that keep happening?
The kitty cats are giving me the stink eye. They want their snack. They wanted their snack at 8 o'clock. It's now 9 o'clock.
Right.
So guess what?
You're going to feed the cats.
I got 4 cats looking at me going, ah. Okay. That's why I don't have any final thoughts. I'm sorry.
Well, programming note. We will return to you Tuesday evening from 8 p.m. That's what we're scheduled for anyway. God knows what could happen between now and Tuesday, but we are scheduled to be back with you Tuesday evening from 8 p.m. Here's your update broadcast schedule. For our listeners, friends, and family at hot101.net, the music returns as soon as we sign off. For our friends and family at GCPR, The Villain's View will begin right at 9 o'clock. I think the pre-show's probably already on. I just looked for it, and I didn't see it, but I probably looked in the wrong place. But their pre-show is probably already on. They follow us immediately here on gcpr.live and many of our same social media outlets, the YouTube and so on and so on. Thomas returned... Conversations with T. Nathan from 11 p.m., of course. Thomas kicks off your broadcast work week tomorrow morning from 8 a.m., with a fresh, steaming, hot pot of the sound of coffee. George returns to you Tuesday evening from 6 p.m. with the help desk. And then we follow that at 8 p.m. So I think I should check. They are on tonight, right?
Yeah, they're on.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
on. They're on now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on right now.
All right.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Fuck, jeez. They're tailgating me. They're driving up my rear end here.
2 minutes.
I know. 2 minutes. Shut up and get off. 2 minutes. For everyone at GCPR, that's Thomas and Gilbert and Gambit and Gretchen and more people than I can name. For everyone at hot101.net, that's DJ Lex, DJ Earl, and the entire hot101.net family. And by the way, keep looking out now for hot101.net Latino. I don't think that's what he's calling it, but an entirely new Spanish-based Latino, that kind of beat, vibe, all that kind of music, starting at hot101.net, an entirely separate channel that is entirely Latin based. Keep a lookout for that. For everyone that surrounds the Kennedy Effect, that's Lynn and George, Kristen, Daisy the dog, and of course April Riddick. I'm Jeff Kennedy. We've done about all the damage we can do for one night. We made it through 3 hours. I have no idea how, because I feel like poop. My voice is going. I'm still nauseous. I can't stand it. We will talk to you on Tuesday. The Villain's View following us, the music on 101, T. Nathan from 11, Thomas tomorrow morning, George Tuesday at 6. To all of you, please take care of yourselves and each other. On hot101.net, the music returns right now. For our friends at GCPR, the Villain's View starts right now. And we will see you again on Tuesday.